Thank you all for having us, having the youth, putting us in the middle. I didn't expect to be this nervous. I think sometimes it can be quite intimidating for us to join or participate, or like today for me to stand in front of you all and tell you something new. I'm not saying that the elephants in the room scare us, but I think we're all very aware that you have played a big part in building Orville so far, and you have done beautiful work, and I think sometimes it's quite challenging or quite scary to think that this will be our role one day. Thank you to the governing board for initiating this, and for all the Orvillians here today. Happy to see that the ABI are also part of this, that the youth are here. I'd like to acknowledge some people that have given me the confidence to stand here today, like my father, people like Joss, Kripa, Morris, Carol, Alan. There's so many of you that have actually taught me and included me in conversations and given me a lot of courage. So I would like to also suggest that all of you in this room take it as your mission to identify a few youth, or maybe even just one youth, and teach them what you know, show them kindness, give them your love, and welcome them into these circles of conversation more often. So, for the purpose of this retreat, we have defined youth as age 15 and 25. And we've gone through a long process to come and stand here today. We began by having meetings within schools, and we invited schools to come and sit together. Those meetings led to organizing a youth walk. If the presentation was here, you could actually see some of the pictures. Can we have the next slide, please? Next slide. PK? Hello, wake up. Okay, so we had a youth walk that was led by the youth, and it was kind of a theme to walk the talk, and a lot of older Orvillians, newcomers, youth, just walked through the residential zones, and it was beautiful, and we sat down here and there, we spoke about things. And it was nice just to reconnect to the community physically. Then out of the discussions with the youth, we also decided we are going to put on a festival. So we call it the Festival of Ideas. We invited the entire community. All age groups gave in their suggestions of how we can make Orville better. We took these suggestions, we worked through them, we discussed them, we talked about our own dreams for Orville, we incorporated them further. And the outcome of these discussions will be presented to you today. Many of these ideas, I'm happy to notice, are also coming from your discussions, so some of them might be repetitive. But it's just nice to acknowledge that we're on the same path and we have the same ideas. So I would like to also encourage you to change maybe the perception of youth today in Orville, that we are actually not here to complain or to ask for anything, but we're here to work with you for a better Orville. We ask you to trust us and to acknowledge our potential. Yeah, I think that's it. I will hand it over to Oronan, or maybe the movie will speak for itself. Some of the youth sitting here have prepared a short movie to kind of give you an impression of what you are in Orville, and from there we'll go into the specific goals and we'll have more presenters. Thank you.
is a problem. We have to stay in that circle if we're going to be in that. Yeah, great, good.
Is it possible that people may give us your names? When you talk, just before you talk.
Okay, my name is Mila. I was born here and lived here my whole life. My name is Leela.
Hello everyone, I'm Chandra.
I'm Anna.
I'm Oro Anand.
I'm Mirabelle. Usha.
Noe.
Roshan.
Luca. Incidentally, Roshan was the one who solved the problem at the back. There were 3 of us chasing around the computer. He was the one who fixed it.
All right, housing. So currently, we have a population of 436 Orville youth. This accounts for people aged 15 to 25. We have about 7 residential areas, such as Maison de Jeunes, Mayarchi, Kailash, VDK, and a few others. Yet the number of youth in search for housing exceeds our assets. We need more housing, more affordable housing for the Orville youth. There are two groups of youth who are in desperate need for our attention when it comes to housing in Orville. First, there are the teenagers who are looking for a chance to grow independent or who are unable to stay at home in a healthy environment for growth due to a number of reasons. These children who I am targeting are from 15 to 18, some involved with schools and others not. Yet they should both be given the chance to learn through the self-development during being independent. Most of these youth are unable to work and thus need financial and social support. Cheap housing like Kailash, where the youth still have support of a group of friends, is a beneficial living space for people in this quota. Kailash, however, the main facility of that sort, despite having 14 rooms, is at full capacity while there are still more youth waiting for a place. The development of a new residential area directed to this age group is essential. The second group who I am targeting at is either the students returning from studies abroad or outside of Orville, or those who stay here after high school, from ages 18 to 25, the ones who are ready to build a life here. These youth have been studying, and most do not have the financial means available to obtain a house. A funding scheme, whether a loaning system or a plan where the youth could be funded for a portion of their expenses, could be possibly applied as a substantial gesture. In Orville, I believe there should be an integration of social groups and not a segregation of people. Yet because of the different needs and lifestyles of the younger Orvillians, or children of Orville, the idea of a youth community was brought up in one of our many meetings with the youth. A community in which the youth could be given the freedom of self-discovery, a space in which expression, responsibility, and growth may be fostered. And when they do decide to settle down and, for example, have kids, they could be allocated a house and join one of the many diverse communities. Housing for the youth is mainly apartments. However, we don't look into the type of housing the youth require. For example, if they love gardening and they are only able to move into an apartment on the 2nd floor. Involving the youth in the planning, design, or building of their own houses would be a step forward. The location of the youth is also an aspect that we have to consider. The youth housing is also an aspect that we have to consider. In Orville, many of us have houses too big or too small to our needs. The housing distribution is unequal. Although our houses are our homes and we all have attachments to them, we are aiming to be a society that have no personal belonging, take only what we need and give what we don't to people who do need it. We have to make changes and move to places suitable to our requirements, to our needs. I listed up a few aims for housing the youth believes could create a better Orville. Creating more youth hostels such as Kailash. Looking into the possibilities and effects of youth community. Building houses that the youth wants to live in. Involving the youth in building their own houses. Reconsidering the location of the youth residency. Offering help to the elder youth if they are in need of financial support to start building a life in Orville. Working through the inequalities of housing in Orville. For example, big families in small houses and vice versa. You say we are the future of Orville. Invest in us. Let us grow to become the people the world needs. But to do that, we need resources. We need to have the right to grow independently, live alone when we feel ready, be able to leave and learn more. be able to come back to a place we call home, grow Oroville to the magnificent city it is to be, and support the future generations. Thank you. We're going to be talking about education. I'm going to be talking about the concerns, and Luca here will be talking about the solutions we came up with. Oroville is a place of unending education, or so we say. Unending education? Most youth leave after high school and pursue higher studies abroad. What is going on? Whole generations of youngsters, fervent with ideas, are lost every year, slipping through our fingers without fail. Now it's time to address the inevitable question. Why? Why are Oroville's future inhibitors leaving year after year, some coming back in search of home, and are then encountered with various difficulties? This is why you have the youth at this meeting, for a different perspective and take on the situation. Working towards the ideal of unending education in Oroville, we have come up with some concerns and solutions to do with the current state of our education. The first and main concern is having a wider selection of opportunities to choose from, which right now is not the case. There is a concern that the education we are offered right now may be too mainstream. When I say mainstream, I do not mean like everywhere else in the world, but a little bit limited in the sense if I want to do exams, I have to go to future school. If I don't, I have to go to last school, but there's not something really in between. There's also not offered professional, known, and world-qualified alternatives like apprenticeships for students who do not fit in the pre-imposed schooling structure, nor does it offer vocational training. Not only is the form of education not ideal for people who do not fit in our schools, but it also doesn't allow further growth for people who want to pursue higher studies in Oroville. Whatever way you look at it, you are losing youngsters with potential. However, it is not only about individual growth, but also about a collective growth, starting from the schools in Oroville and then taking it to a larger scale. This means that we want to incorporate all schools in Oroville in the surrounding villages and even with schools all around the world. Another concept that arose was the need for more co-cultural events that integrate the young youth with the more senior Orovillians. And one of those co-cultural events was a need for an Oroville class which would talk about the ideals and how Oroville works and was open to all young individuals. It was also suggested that the youth be given more opportunities to initiate their own projects with the aid of resources and funding. Moving on to the schools of Oroville, it is also important to mention the concern of an increase in students and a lack of teachers. Now Luca is going to talk about some solutions.
Okay, so we begin from the question of how to connect Oroville schools to the world. What we need is to find a way for Oroville's educational system to make its shout out to the rest of the world without adapting to the ideas of traditional schooling, and perhaps making it possible to go to universities with some sort of legalized paper that says that we can study in a way that is more set to the Oroville ideals. But of course, though, just sending the youth to study abroad with this hypothetical paper and continue studies that would be helpful in Oroville won't do. These youth need to be assured job opportunities, acceptable maintenance, and a welcoming atmosphere upon their return. As well, exchange programs between Oroville schools and international schools should be arranged for, so Oroville youth get an insight on the world outside and the rest of the world does not get the impression that Oroville is a very closed space, very stuck in its own personal bubble, and even introverted. As well, it can be a great education experience for students on both sides of the exchange. Another solution for the current problems we face would be to ideally exterminate all segregation between schools at the moment and merge all the schools' ideas, cultures, and individuals together. Because although I find it normal, because imperfection is what characterizes us human beings, to dislike certain people, it is not normal to antagonize people or look down on them because of the school they study in. I see no Ness or Udabi kids in this group. We have just the royalty of the Oroville schools, last school and future school. Just an observation, I'm not saying anything. So I would like to compare this to perhaps several groups of scientists working on a cure for the same disease in constant competition against one another. What we need is to find a way to get them all working together, which is our only hope of ever obtaining this cure that we so talk of. It would also be a great start if we could allocate equal resources and alternatives to all schools. This would already help break down barriers between the upcoming youth and the next generation. Also, it is necessary to support young Orwellians who do not want to leave and want to pursue schooling systems in Orwell, as most parents in Orwell do not earn enough to fund these exams. So what we suggest is the creation of an account where people can donate, as well as fundraising campaigns for exams, the ultimate goal being education for those who cannot afford it. Thank you.
So the youth's role in Orwell, a lot of things have already been said, more opportunities, more possibilities, but also we can't look at a problem with the same mentality. So I think from our side, from the youth side also, we have to realize that the unending education is also about opening up a door to realize that you can do that anywhere, any moment, wherever you are. You just have to have the aspiration and the will to learn something, to learn anything, you know. It doesn't have to be materialized, it can also be virtual. Like, I don't know, whatever. Sorry.
So hello everyone, I'm Chandra. And I was someone who graduated from Future School, and unlike most of the other students, I actually wanted to stay. And in my case, I was extremely lucky because I found what I was looking for, which was the Lilith Fashion School, which is a full-time apprentice program which spreads over a period of 3 years. But I had other classmates who stayed back and they couldn't find anything, so they left elsewhere to look for something more to their interest. So I think Orwell really, really lacks apprentice programs in different areas of expertise. So yes, that's my point of view.
So, economic and employment. So, it's basically I'm just relating and putting it together all together at once. Like, for example, first of all, when a student or a youngster who graduates from school, and he decides to stay in Orwell, he wants, and there's so many groups in Orwell. There are like so many FMC, Working Committee, Orwell Council, BCC, ABC, like so many groups, and most of the youngsters don't know what it is. And when we were like, okay, after school, okay, it's my turn to service the community, and we're like, where should I go? Whoa, there's 150 groups there. And then so there should be a channel where they explain what it is about. How many groups are there? What are they actually doing? So you can choose your involvement, your interest into it. And we can't always say, youth has to come up, youth has to do this, you have to integrate youth into it, but actually create a channel for it. Create an opportunity channel for the youngsters. And for example, not only creating channels, after there's another part on top of it. Maintenance. When I finished when I graduated from hotel management, I came to Orwell, I was like, okay, that's my turn to give my part. And I did many stuffs into it, I was learning a lot, and then I got into the council. And after I got into the council, my maintenance part came. They said, you just finished your studies recently, so you will receive an apprentice maintenance of 3,000 to 4,000 per month. And how am I supposed to live in that? Who would live in 3,000 to 4,000 in this room? Will I eat less than you in this room, or something like that? So these are the concerns. We might have less budget or less money, but who are the victims for this, So these are the concerns that has to put up. And even before starting this retreat, youth part was not there, it was later added. So these are the things, And you have to, also it's like we all have to keep in mind, it's like we are the next generation that is going to take up the responsibilities. So, for example, if I'm holding a chair for the past 20 years, it's like, it's being a little selfish. So it's like good that you call a youngster who's like, smart in the community, you call him up, you say, look, this is there for you, are you willing to do it? You train him with you. So it's more helpful for you. There's a person who's wise and the person who has a lot of energy. So the work could be done in a better way and better result can come out. So integrating people into it is also an important part of it. We have 436 youngsters in Oroville from age of between 15 to 25. And right now we are giving 460 maintenances to adults and everyone. So in a couple of years, we have to double the maintenance because we're going to have a lot of youngsters coming in. So this part has to be viewed in the future. And yes, like for example, it's a family. We Orovilleans, we all together are a family, and we are the children of your family. So it's our responsibilities to give a hand to the youngsters to come up, do it, encourage them. It's like most of the youngsters, some youngsters can have self-motivation, but some needs, use some hands there. Like even for the working committee selection, some people didn't come up because there weren't a slot where people can suggest names. There was only self, coming up. And so even if old people expect that, youngsters also can expect that, some motivation from there. So, yeah, I didn't write down anything, it's just from my heart, so I'm sorry if I did any mistake.
Hello. Hello. So our final suggestion today would be the creation of an Oroville Youth Resource Team. Basically what this team would be is they would be the intermediate between the active youth and the working groups of Oroville. They would be responsible to convey any information, suggestions, concerns, ideas regarding topics like schooling, employment, apprenticeships, anything that includes the youth. This group would consist of youth members who would want to participate in it, some under the age of 20, some above, and some selected members in the current working groups of Oroville to act as coordinators. Why I think this group would be beneficial and why I think we need this in Oroville is because we need to improve and we need to promote the integration and involvement of youth towards the development of Oroville. This one day will be our city, so we'll have to, it's time to start being involved in it now. Hopefully by the end of the year, we can collect information about apprenticeships and schooling so we can have a network of opportunities that the youth can come and pick from and learn and etc.
Yeah, so the best way I think to kick off this Oroville Youth Resource Team would be to collect, make a database, information base on employment for the youth, where they can have jobs, on housing, where they can go and live, on education, which kind of schools they can go to and why, and information about the schools. Information on apprenticeships, so all the apprenticeships in Oroville, all units, services, everything we can see, everything we can do and where we want to go. And information on starting projects in Oroville. If we want to start a project, it should be easy for us, we should know what to do with this, that. And yeah, in this way, a returning youth Orovillian or any youth Orovillian can easily go to this resource team and get all the information they need to get involved in Oroville. And it would also be interesting if this youth resource team had the ability to attend meetings of the working committee or FAMC or BCC to learn how the groups work and to voice their ideas and concerns, and to make direct requests on funding, for example, or anything. And yeah, that could be interesting. And one more thing I'd like to say, which is kind of apart, is another big elephant, the development of the Crown Road. I haven't heard anybody talking about this yet. And I feel that a lot of places are being jeopardized by the development of the Crown Road, just ruthlessly being built. and it has to be considered that people live where the crown road is going to be, and we have to come to a common ground. She said it earlier, I forgot the word now. A common agreement on how to move forward and not to compromise, not to jeopardize places, and just build this circular road. So that's just the idea. Thank you.
So, I actually prepared something I wanted to say here today, but it seems that we've pretty much skimmed over everything that has to be said. So, I wrote this poem a long time ago, and I thought this would be the right moment to share it with you all. So, the title, of course, is Orville. I live in a community, so underlining the word unity within the community. A place that's built to be different, stunning, resilient, beautiful people seeking to live in unity. But I feel that now we've kind of lost our way somehow. We get too caught up in minor problems with which we soon lose patience. We act before thinking, accepting that we are here to be evolving. When you know you belong here, you lose doubts, your fear. From day one till whenever, it will be your endeavor to aspire to joyfulness in this search for unified bliss. A group of people bound by respect and acceptance from every aspect. A place where empathy is omnipresent and we live not in the past, but in the present. Trust can only be attained and sustained if those concerned that have accepted and surrendered to the mystery of life and living. And all that happens by just being. Being together, unified, a feeling of trust will be amplified. Together we move forward, not seeking money nor reward, just a simple state of mind. Now it's up to you and me to decide.
Some people in the room may not be very happy, and some people are very touched, because, well, when I went for the first time to the youth center, it struck me that there really is the need for a very clear voice, and Asta sort of responded to that in the morning for young people. And you could see just a simple example. That poem was read off a phone. Yeah. Most of us would never know how to write a poem on a phone. And many of us would never think of reading it off the phone. And this is a normal part of life. And if I would just ask you a simple question. There was a song that was sung in the video. How many of us actually know the lyrics of that song? Oh, wonderful. So there are 3 or 4. Most of them have young children who sing that, but all of us here would know the lyrics of the song. So what I'm saying is that there is a transition that's in process. And that transition actually is a very beautiful thing, as you've seen. There are many sort of conflicts that are embedded in that, but I think it's an opportunity to really engage with it, embrace it, and move forward with that process. So I was apologizing because there was a schedule and a program that was intellectual. We were meant to do many things just now. That's got a little upset. But the reason for that was, we thought as a group, and certainly I felt, that we needed to put our young friends at the center of this process. And I encouraged them last evening to do something which they were rather apprehensive of. And that was to speak from their heart and not hold back stuff, even if they know that it's something that their parents or other people in the room would not necessarily be very happy with. So I celebrate their courage in doing that, and I think it's really important what you've done, because all of us have to do the same thing in the context that we're working in. So I think we should give them a wonderful hand. Thank you so much. Go back to the center. But we really have to invest in this process of handing over and mentorship. It's not easy at all. I mean, many of us have children who are in the